Okay. Well, here we are again, another month. And what an excited month it has started to be. I want to say welcome to Strive Principle number 6, education. This is our last principle of our rotation cycle, education, and how important is education. Now, I have a lot of mixed emotions going on right now. I'm sure a lot of you can share the same. Why? Because we are in such an incredible, unusual period of our economy. A lot of things are going on, and it's very unsettling, to say the least. So, this is a very, very great conversation that I want to engage with you this evening regarding education because we forget how important education is. If you can see my screen, and I hope you can, it starts with think big, start small, and learn fast. And what we mean by that is think big. Don't limit yourself to small goals and aspirations. Think big, but start small because it can be quite overwhelming when you look at your full picture of what you want to do in your life, what your goals are, and how are you going to accomplish that? It could be quite overwhelming. But if you start small and just take out a few chunks at a time, complete those milestones, before you know it, you have arrived to the big picture, which is thinking big. Learn fast doesn't mean rush. So that's not what I mean by learn fast. But we know we live in a very fast world and the world is not stopping for us to catch up. So what I mean by learning fast is pay attention, get the job done. So how do we learn and how do we educate? We educate through mentors, coaches, role models, books, workshops, classes, educators, and loved ones. And let's get into this webinar. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening. My name is Detra Harris. I am the Managing Director for Strive Wealth Builders. We specialize in working with real estate investors, helping our members to increase their passive incomes, yay, learn to grow real estate business, build great relationships. What is real estate investing without building great relationships? Develop personal values. That's what our Strive principles is all about. It's about personal development. Self-worth. We want to close great deals and add value to our members that's starting in this business. It's really important. It's always important to help someone else to get where you are. And then also our mentors, which we'll discuss a little bit into the webinar, is important to have mentors too that can help you move to another higher level. So what do we offer at Strive Wealth Builders? If you're new to our platform, then this will hopefully encourage you to join our club. There is no membership fee. We offer personal and business development, networking events, guest speakers. We have a great loan program for those investors that's looking for funding. We also have real estate investing training opportunities, and as well as investment opportunities through our deal board that we update weekly. And what I love is our community outreach program. If you're interested in community work, we welcome you to join us and volunteer and help your community. What does Strive mean? Now, I talk about this often, but again, for those that are new to our platform, I want to welcome you as new members. Anyone that's just decided to pop in right now and to just listen more about what we do at Strive. We're a pretty unique real estate investment club, different from other investment clubs. And what sets us apart, in my opinion anyways, is our personal development aspect, which is Strive. Strive is an acronym, which means sacrifice, truth, relationships, integrity, value, and education. And what we do is we rotate these principles on a 6-month rotation schedule. So we start up in January through June with sacrifice, truth, relationships, integrity, value, and education. That's 6 principals, and we rotate them on a 6-month schedule. So we're at the last cycle in June, which is education. So if you notice on the screen that I have in front of me, we celebrate education in the month of June, and then we'll repeat this in the month of December. Well, let me mention this. We practice principles throughout the entire year repeatedly. For instance, I mentioned relationships. Although we practice relationships on the third month of which is March and September, again in September, we are constantly building great relationships daily. And and through our club, through other associations, we are continuing to build great relationships. So as you can see, we may rotate these principles on a cycle, 6-month cycle, but it's really important to track your progress and assess your values repeatedly throughout the year. So I just want to mention that. What we learn becomes a part of who we are. And that is very true. We learn so many different ideas and opinions and the programming aspect of our society through so many different avenues. It starts very early on in age when you're born. You are start to become programmed. Other people start to impose their opinions, their views, and we have a tendency to believe what we hear and what we've taught. So as we grow older, we have to understand that it's our responsibility to improve our knowledge, to increase our education and our values. And how do we do that? Let's talk a little bit about it. So the standard American practice, as we all know, starts from preschool. Now, it's not mandatory in America that children attend preschool, but most of us have. I have definitely have enrolled my 2 boys into preschool, and they started in preschool very early. I think they enroll your child in a preschool as early as 6 weeks, and oftentimes it's necessary because we're working individuals and you may be a single parent, and so therefore preschool is not an option. It's mandatory because you have to go to work and you do need support, healthcare support. Then we move from preschool into kindergarten. Now, kindergarten, and if you remember being in kindergarten, if we can remember back in kindergarten days, that's where it really begins. That's when our programming really begins in terms of our system and how our government imposes education on, on us. And it starts in kindergarten. They start to shape you in kindergarten. You start to learn maybe your ABCs, how to write your name. Well, it starts from your home. It should, but a lot of children learn that in kindergarten. Then, if they're not getting that education and that grounding foundation from their household, then we move into elementary school. And as you can see here, I have some pictures here. So do you remember being in elementary school? And that's when you start to understand how our system works and what's expected from you. And if you notice, I'm going to point this out again just in a little while. Just if you can look at these photos, because I'm going to bring you back in just a little bit at these photos of how our system is set up. If you can see the elementary school students, they're raising their hands. We are programmed and taught how to act in school, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, to follow the rules, and to do our best. Hopefully, that's what we're being taught. And that's when we're exposed to teachers and counselors and other educators in the classroom that we start to build relationships from. So we're very impressionable at this age. Then we move into middle school, start to feel our identity, who we are. A little peer pressure comes in, and you start to notice different changes in your life, how other students may react in class. we start looking at our grade levels and if we pass certain tests and all of the responsibility and all the pressure that is put on us at that age. From there, we move into high school. Now, high school, do you remember high school, being in high school? Okay, you start getting the zits. Women start growing in places we didn't know that we would grow. And and your hormones are kind of everywhere. And also the pressure is on from your parents, from your teachers, from your counselors, from your coaches, and everyone. What are you going to do with your life? What do you want to do? Are you prepared? All of this happens in high school. And then we're also looking at our identity in high school. In the mirror, I talk about looking in the mirror a lot. If you're following our principles from month to month when I do webinars, looking in the mirror is very important because that's seeing yourself. How do you show up in the world? We start all of that in high school. It starts earlier, but it really impacts us in high school. And it kind of sets the tone for where we're going next in life and how we show up in the world. Now, in our system, usually it's mandatory for you to either get a GED or to graduate from high school. You get a high school diploma. It's not a requirement for you to move into college, but that's always usually suggested. And some kids get to go to college, some don't, and follow other career paths. So whatever your decision may be, it's all an educational um, practice from high school through college. Let's say you go to college, and as you can see, college is another level of reaching your identity. What do you see yourself performing in life? How do you show up in life? What's your career? What's your career path? What do you want to do? You have the ability, as I always say, to design your life. And college is a very great place to start that. And even a higher education. So you want to step up those ladders. You may want to master a PhD. You may want to be an attorney or some engineer or some other career that affords a higher income. Now, let's talk about income. So we live in a society, and I want you to give this some thought. We live in a society that usually will put you in categories, right? Depending on how much money you make, your income level. And we judge each on the level of income that we make or what type of degrees that we have. You have a master's degree, you have a college degree, and we measure ourselves and others based on their education and their income levels. Is that right? How do you feel about that? So let's back up a little bit. Education starts from the home, but everyone is different. So I want you to give that some thought too. How was your family life? What did you receive from your family, from your parents, or from your guardians? We have so many differences in the way that we grew up, and education starts from home, whether it's good or bad, because that's our influence, and then we take that into the world with us. And that impacts us as we continue to move forward in life, from preschool to kindergarten, all the way through high school and into college. Our family lives, or whoever was there to influence us, is a huge impact in our lives and how we think about ourselves. So I encourage you to look at your past, evaluate how you grew up, what was said in your household, what teachings did you have in your household. It's very different. And we have so many different people in the world, so many different cultures. So we all have a range of experience in terms of education and what we were taught in the home. There are some of my club members, when I have this personal discussion with them, or some of the people that I work with, and I design personal plans, personal development plans for my clients, We talk about this a lot because it's very important in shaping who you are today and making real changes. Because a lot of us, we are taught and programmed early. And some of us, and particularly, I'll speak for myself, we didn't talk a lot in my household coming up about how important credit was, how to manage money, how to invest wisely and save money. That wasn't a topic often. So I had to learn that later on in life. And as a result, I made a lot of mistakes financially. And I had to self educate myself on money management. So some of you may have that same experience growing up. And you have others that their parents have talked to them or their guardians, or some people have come from foster homes and have been adopted. You never know who you're talking to and who's next to you and their path in life and how they come to believe who they are today and what they believe when other people tell them. So it's really important to educate yourself and to educate beyond what our government says we have to do, which is a system that has been prepared for us as workers. So as you can see on my screen, I have many illustrations here and some pictures of you being at home, and to just kind of jog your memory. What did I get from my parents? What did I get growing up? What did I get from other people around me that was an influence that I'm taking today that impacts my life today on how I feel about education, how I feel about life, how I feel about a lot of different other matters. Now let's talk about our system. Now, I have a photo here on my screen that takes you back to the early 1900s when there were factory workers. And our government, which is pretty much the same today, has set up our economy to work for other people and to essentially make other people rich and wealthy. So if you look at that screen there and you see the factory workers, and if you notice something, I said I want to take you back to some screens here. The right side of the picture shows a classroom, and you can see how that classroom is set up with the desk. And we're facing forward, and usually the teacher, your instructor, your professor is right at the head of that, and that is giving you a lecture or explaining, or just basically teaching you lessons, right, from your book or from your class or whatever. And then you also have that same setup from factory workers right here, right? So I just want to go back for 1 second. Let's go back to this slide and let's look at these classrooms from, from elementary to high school to middle school to college. It's going to look very similar to this photo. And I want you to think about that concept for me, because I don't have enough time to really get into the gist of this. But where I'm going with this is that our system is set up for us to be workers. It always has been from day one. Programming. Now, some of the same curriculum in our educational system exists today, as if we're not moving forward. It's by design that we're not moving forward, to keep us in where they want us to be, which is limited, right? So you'll see that I have those 4 boxes at the bottom of the screen. One is employee, one is business owner, the other is self-employed, and then you have investors. Now we know the majority of our economy falls into that employee box. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with being an employee. Of course not. We need employees to have our world be managed efficiently, and we all have to work together. But my point here is that do you believe that someone that has a higher education, for instance, a PhD, that's a doctor or an attorney or engineer or some other high-end profession is better than someone without a degree? Or do you really believe that? I mean, I just want to pause on that for a little bit, because we treat each other so poorly at times in our economy. because you cannot take a brain surgeon and that understands that profession and then put him on a site with general contractors and build a house because they just don't have that profession. You cannot take someone of a general contractor and then put him, somewhere where maybe there is janitorial company and then expect him to understand how to mix certain chemicals that's necessary. But who's making the most money? We often look at that, which is unhealthy. That's just an unhealthy practice. We all need each other. We all work together. And God, in my opinion, has given us talents to contribute to the world, whatever it may be. If you're a teacher, if you are a bus driver, if you are a dentist, if you are a pilot, we're all needed. And so I just want to point that out. Now, also, what if you are a business owner and that's your decision? And business owners um, uh, have a real great status in our economy because we need uh, the mom and pop businesses and we need small businesses to thrive, right? Our economy thrives off of small businesses. Look what happened in the pandemic in terms of small business and how that impacted our way of life, just alone in that. Okay. And then self-employed. Being self-employed, those are your real estate agents, those are your doctors that have their private practices. Now we have to make a decision. Where do we fit in here? We're going to be an employee, business owner, self-employed, investor. All of this is education and defining your life. And what do you want to do? If you are self-employed or in an employee and something happens to you, or you lose your job, or your practice, or you get ill, where is the money going to come from to support you and your family? Hmm. Investors. Investors are usually the role models that are creating wealth in our economy. They understand money management. They understand how to make great investments to be able to make their money work for them. Is that where you like to be? Would you like to be an investor? Do you want your money to work for you? Do you want to make great financial decisions and investments and have your money coming in as you sleep, passive income? Because you have the ability to design your own life. And how are you going to design your life? So let's not get stuck on the standard way of educating ourselves through our school system. Let's not just push our kids into that system, depending on the educators, the teachers to train our kids. It starts from home, it goes into the school system, but you also have to make sure that your children are provided correct information, and that's through education. Let's look at our economy right now, how so many lies have been exposed. So many tragic situations thrown underneath the carpet that we didn't know anything about. And now it's being exposed. Now we have social media. We have phones that we can film situations that happen to us individually. So we can prove to the world, listen, you've been lied to. You have to educate yourself. You have to find out the truth. It matters. So these are some other ways that we can educate us. Mentors. I mentioned earlier, do you have a mentor? You don't have a mentor, I suggest that you start networking and build relationships and meet someone that can help you move to that next level. Next level. That's important. Coaches are very important in our lives. If you're an athlete, educator, so we have life coaches, we have business coaches, we have so many different coaches, and they are very important in our lives as well. Coaches. as as well as role models. Um, Role models are very important. Um, and I, for example, um, have several different role models. And my role models fall into several different categories. So I want to point this out because this can be unhealthy when we look at role models and put them on pedestals. For instance, similar to entertainers. A lot of we admire entertainers and we consider them to be role models, but we want to make sure that we don't get trapped into believing that we have to measure ourselves with that role model. Because let's keep this in mind, their path is completely different from our path. So it's important to, yes, to have role models because why? They inspire us. They let us know that they did it, we can do it also. That's why we have a way of kind of attaching ourselves to role models. But what's not healthy is when some of these role models are some of our role models that we consider role models, they may show examples of unhealthy practices in terms of if they're dressed inappropriately, if they promote unhealthy practices, then that's, in my opinion, I consider a role model that's inspiring. Also, books. We have a book club at Strive, and it's called the BBC, and that's coming up this month, in the month of June, at the end of the month. Please jump on the webinar for our Strive BBC. We talk and we discuss the books that we're currently reading, which is so very valuable in and educating yourself and learning more about your history, learning about your profession, learning about other people. It's just a wide range of topics that you can enjoy in books. Workshops. Attend as many workshops as you possibly can attend. Whatever your passion is, whatever you love to do, there is a workshop out there for you. Workshops are usually free for the most part, and are may just cost a little money for different workshops, but is very valuable and you learn a lot within that time. So workshops are very handy. Classes. So not only when you graduate from college or you higher education courses, there's all types of classes. Say, for instance, if you love gardening, you can take a gardening class. If you want to learn Excel spreadsheet, take that class. So if you love photography, art, there's so many classes you can take. There's so much you can do to educate yourself. It's endless. So get out there and do it. Educators, of course, professors from colleges, our teachers, all educators. We have educators on many different levels. We have educators on podcasts and CDs and on YouTubes. And lastly, I want to talk about our loved ones. Now, I learn from my kids often. So kids teach us a lot. And I'm not talking about just in new technology, teach you how to text or something on your phone. We educate ourselves just by communicating. So our children will let us know how they feel. We can learn a lot from children and our loved ones. So again, what did your parents teach you growing up? What was your environment? What was your influence? What was your takeaway from your aunt, from your uncle who's talking to you about life? So we educate ourselves through loved ones as well. So here's a few more educational resources for you. That will include webinars. Again, I thank you for joining me and just taking the time out today to look at education and some of the resources that you can use in your life to further your education, presentations, guest speakers. we are in the land of Zoom right now. So there's no excuse to jump on an online webinar or presentation, listen to a great guest speaker or to a motivational speakers. I love that, to give you some motivation, so you can just present yourself in the world in a positive manner. Community meetings. Now we're starting to lift a little bit from the pandemic so we can go back out and be able to socialize with our churches, retreats, seminars, and study groups and book clubs and on and on. I love libraries. I love visiting libraries. It's a great resource. You can stay in there for hours and you just have so much good stuff. And most of those libraries now, they have either Starbucks or some type of cafe in there. So you can go and have yourself a nice beverage, snack, and sit down and just read books and look through some great magazines and maybe establish a relationship or two while you're there. Museums are very also educational platforms for us to go to, and traveling. When you travel the world, you meet people. How exciting is that to meet someone that you do not know that may look a little different from you? How about that? How about trying that? How about trying to establish a relationship with someone that may be different from you? Because you will find out that they're very similar and they have very similar um, ways of life because we live in America, we're Americans for the most part. And if we're not, even if from international, if you travel outside of the United States, which is great, and you learn so much from other cultures and other people, that's all education. So I encourage you to get out there and live, educate yourself. So how do you really recharge your life through Strive principles? I have practiced these principles for over 7 years. It keeps me on track because we fall short. Often we beat ourselves up also, and we're too hard on ourselves. When we make mistakes, when we fall short, when something doesn't work out right, or a relationship, we have a failing relationship. But that's life. It's how you react. So some of the ways that you can recharge your life is attending webinars like this one. I'm, I'm hoping that that I'm giving you some tips on how to educate yourself, and as we move forward and rotate these principles, helping you to develop your personal lifestyle, how you see your how you see yourself living and living your lifestyle and building wealth and helping other people. Read Strive Principles. Actually, we actually have a workbook, Strive Principles workbook, that has assignments and worksheets. Read and you can develop your own personal plan separate from me. So that is available for you. I also provide personalized workshops, and I want to just touch on that a little bit because I had someone that sent me an email recently that wanted more information about what does that include. So for instance, I designed a personal workshop that's just for you. For instance, we start with sacrifice. What sacrifices are necessary for you to meet your goals financially and personally? We start there. Then we move into truth. What is your truth? Your financial status? And we just move on and we create a plan that's just for you, your life, and your personal development. It's a lot of fun. It's very confidential. It doesn't go anywhere, but and I share my experiences with you. So it's just not a one-way street. In addition to that, we also host annual Strive Principle retreats. We can be back next year in the summertime. So because of the pandemic, we didn't have it last year. We're not hosting it this year, but hopefully for sure, we'll have a retreat. Those are fun. We go away for the weekend and we value ourselves. We have a lot of fun doing it. Lastly, you can also receive the Strive 6 principles when you attend a real estate investing training course. You can visit our website at strivewealthbuilders.com, go over to our training center, and there's a wide range of classes that's available for the real estate investing industry. So if you want to build your real estate business, that's a good place to start, in the training center. And after you complete your training, then you will automatically get the Strive principal as a bonus. Now today, I just talked about the workbook. So here it is. Here's the workbook. And today you can pick it up for half price, $12.47, no shipping charges. If you would just take a picture of the link there, that's to PayPal, you can pick that up. The only way you can get it at half off is through this webinar and through this link. You can also pick up the principles workbook on our website. However, you don't get that 50% off. So why don't you go on and take a picture of that or write it down? And it's definitely, if you're a Strive member, it's a must-have. If you're not a Strive member, you can, I still welcome you to purchase the book. It's about personal development, and we all need that. So 50% off, $12.47 is a very small investment for you to improve your personal development plan. Okay, we are located at the Atrium Plaza in Albany. Please feel free to contact us. You can visit our website at strivewealthbuilders.com. The Atrium Plaza is located at 828 St. Pablo Avenue, located in Albany. We're in Suite 106C. And also feel free to give us a call. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 510-833-2154. We'd love to talk with you. If you have any questions, if you like to come in for one-on-one classes and sessions, we're open for business. We are still practicing social distancing. A face mask is required, and we have lots of hand sanitizer. So I want to thank you today for joining me this evening to talk about education. Now, there are so many ways you can educate yourself. Get out there. And if you find more resources for education, please send me an email and let me know, and I can put that on my agenda as well when we're talking about education, because I love to learn. And what great way to do that than to talk with my club members, who definitely I learn from my club members. Did I forget to mention that? How much I love learn from my club members, and it's particularly the accredited investors and those really seasoned real estate investors. Thank you so much for teaching me and giving me some of the some of the tools that's needed to be successful in this business. Thank you. And I have a couple of mentors also that I work with. And so it's just great to have those mentors. It helps me to avoid making those really costly mistakes. I've made too many of those, so let's get rid of all those. So as a bonus, I will send you the money management workbook. Finance is very important. Financial planning is very important. It's key to building wealth. So we definitely talk about financial planning quite a bit. So this is a good start. It's a refresher course, and it has some really good tips on how to build wealth and how to manage your personal finances. So you'll get that for attending today. Again, I want to thank you all for joining me today, and I hope to see you next month. We will be celebrating sacrifice. So we're going to start this all over again with sacrifice. I hope to see you next month. Okay, have a good month, and make that money and educate yourself. Pick up a book, a CD, talk to a mentor, find a coach, do something to educate yourself. All right, have a good day.